Hello and welcome to another episode of the In Her Power podcast. I'm your host, Bex Stewart. If you're new here, welcome to a brand new season of the potty. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hi, so good to see you. Welcome to our video segment of the podcast. We are finally introducing video. Not just audio, video as well as audio for the podcast. Oh my God, I have missed you guys so much. I have so much to tell you. I have so much to fill you in on, so much to unpack. And all the stuff I've got to tell you is kind of what inspired today's episode, on top of the fact that we are, at the time of recording, early November, which means it's pretty much Christmas, which means it's pretty much end of year. It's time to really organize and prepare ourselves for a brand new year. And a lot of the time, for myself personally and the people I know personally, we all take the end of the year, and I'm sure you're all the exact same, as an opportunity to really reflect, reassess, and do a little bit of like a rebrand, a little bit of a reinvention of the people or the humans that we are, to really grow, evolve, do better, have better, think better, be better for the brand new year. So I thought, what better way to introduce you to my 10-step framework to completely rebrand and reinvent yourself from the ground up. Now, guys, I don't know whether you noticed. Hang on, I gotta get comfy for this. I have accidentally done a little bit of a rebrand myself, and it kind of started in the midpoint of 2024, so the midpoint of this year, where I noticed I kind of felt really stale. I was consuming my own content, watching my videos, listening back to the podcast, and I just realized I'm kind of camouflaging in with every other creator that I know online. My podcast is camouflaging and meshing and molding in with every other podcast I see and listen to. My content was just the same as everyone else. And I thought to myself, you know what? No, we are not like this. We've never been like this. It is time for a rebrand. So what I started to do at the midpoint of this year was to start really checking in on how I'm feeling internally. What's going on? Why am I feeling this way? How can I learn more? How can I evolve? How can I be better than what I'm currently doing right now? How can I do better, have better, think better? And I started by accident, a little bit of like reinventing myself. So I changed this internal stuff. I read the books. I listened to the podcasts. I showed up in the habits I wanted to show up in. I showed up in the routines I wanted to show up in. I changed so much internally. Then my external changed too. Professionally, in business, on social media, guys, the Bex Stewart personal brand at the time of recording has gotten over 150,000 new followers in 11 months. So when I tell you the internal rebrand has allowed for an external rebrand, I'm not lying. So what I've done to prepare this episode is I have sat down, opened up a Notion page, and I put in everything I did to change the internal so the external could follow. Okay, so in this episode, we are going to talk about how to reinvent yourself, rebrand yourself from the ground up using the 10 steps I have done accidentally to rebrand internally so that my external could follow. So I feel like my style has changed. My social media has blown up, like, not to be conceited and like toot my own horn, but like toot, it has, like, we're popping off. Okay. Business has changed in the background. You guys don't know about that just yet. The podcast, it was time for a new level of the podcast. Like, everything has changed, like literally everything. And I want to talk about it. I want to tell you guys 10 things I have done to change internally so the external can follow. And I just need to say, this is not about a physical glow up. We're not going to go through some makeover tips and tricks and steps here. We're talking about really tangible steps to glow up from the inside, to glow up and rebrand from the inside, because once you do that, there's no other option for the external than to follow. 10-step framework. I have to talk about it. It has worked for me. It's the perfect time of the year to level up, to rebrand, to reinvent. And I just need to say, please don't wait for a new year. Please don't wait for the end of the year to do this. If you're listening to this after the new year / end of year motivation has subsided, you can do this at any point in time. Take my case as the example. I rebranded around July. When I tell you, July was the worst month of my life. we'll talk about this in another episode when we do like a proper life update stuff, but I almost threw in the towel. Like with business, with the podcast, with this job, we'll talk about it later. Just between you and I, it was a bad month. And so when I tell you that there are going to be highs and lows within this reinvention period and this rebrand, please listen to me when I say it, okay? This time of the year has really influenced and inspired this podcast episode and this theme and this topic, but so has my own rebrand, so has my own reinvention. And I guess, as I said, once the internal was addressed, everything else kind of just naturally, accidentally followed. So welcome to a brand new era of the In Her Power podcast. We have a fresh new look, fresh new colors, fresh new branding. We're on YouTube. There's video of us now, not just audio. All new, all fresh. I feel it. I hope you can feel the fresh new energy coming into a brand new year. I hope you love it. I would love to hear your feedback specifically around the YouTube/video element. Trialing and testing at the moment, but if you guys love it and the feedback and the views are there, we'll keep it. She can stay. But on top of that, we also have a TikTok account. I feel so official now. So please, for the love of God, we have one follower, and that follower is me. So please head on over to TikTok. I will leave our link below in the show notes. Please follow us. If you like us, please follow us. It helps us out a lot. So without further ado, let's get stuck straight into the episode. So step number 1 in this 10-step framework is to really start at the beginning and use this rebrand period, this reinvention period as an opportunity to grow and evolve and frame it in a really beautiful, positive frame of mind, okay? I don't want you to think of this rebrand or this reinvention as fixing yourself, like hating something about yourself or having to change something about yourself, specifically physical. I really feel like I need to preface this is so far from physical. In fact, your physical appearance when it comes to today's topic and today's theme is the least interesting thing about you, okay? We are talking about a mindset shift. I'm talking about a soul change on a really core level, okay? So I want you to embrace this change as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to evolve, and not as a, something to fix or something to lose or something to get rid of about yourself, okay? Again, nothing physical here. We're starting with the soul and the mind, the most important part. This could be something as simple as changing or cleaning up some of your habits or cleaning up some of your routines. Maybe you want to step into a new career in the new year. Maybe you're going to get a promotion soon or you're working towards that promotion. So some things you currently do right now need to be reinvented or reassessed. So think of it as an opportunity to fully just move forward and grow and change in a beautiful, positive way, not something that needs to be fixed or, deleted or gotten rid of. Step number 2, and this is a very, very important part, so do not skip this. You need to get clear on why you want to reinvent yourself. What is it that you are going to reinvent? What do you want to rebrand? And why do you want to do that? Now, if you've clicked on this video or you've clicked on this episode, I feel like some of you will have an idea. Like, yes, I know exactly what I want to change, exactly how it's going to work, exactly what I'm going to do. However, on the other side of the scale, I reckon there could be some of you thinking, oh, okay, I like the idea. I know I want to level up and I want to be better, do better, evolve, elevate what I do, but I don't know why and I don't know where to start. I don't even know my first step. So regardless of whether you do know or you don't know, I'm going to recommend this be your starting point. I would recommend you figure out what your top core values are. Now, don't roll your eyes. If I had heard someone say this to me a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, oh, why am I figuring out my values? What has that got to do with anything? But if you can figure out what is most important to you in this life and then focus on elevating, reinventing, and rebranding within those facets of your life, I'm telling you now, you will be the most happy, most fulfilled, most thriving human you know. So if you're listening to me and you're like, I don't even know what my values are, I don't even know what a value is, that's okay. Neither did I until like 2 years ago. I'm going to introduce you and I'm going to link it in the show notes. This is completely free. I'm not affiliated with this in any way, shape, or form. I have no idea who this doctor is, but I have done this online test myself and it has honestly, it's made the biggest impact. It's called the Hierarchy of Values Test. 13-question online questionnaire. I believe it's multiple choice. You answer all the questions and essentially it takes your answers and spits out what your top core values are in their hierarchy. So your top is the one that you value the most, obviously. For example, my top values when I did this test was family right at the top, health, career, financial stability, and then personal growth. So if it was my turn to do a rebrand, in fact, upon reflection, listen to what I'm about to say, take into consideration what I just said about my values, what my top values are, and then take into consideration what I've accidentally rebranded and done this year. To begin with, I started around the midpoint of this year really focusing on growth. Shock horror, one of my top core values is personal growth. I started reading the books. I started listening to the podcasts. I started looking at why I behave this way. Why do I think this way? And then fine tuning those things. That was my first step to my rebrand, was looking at what's most important to me, my personal growth. I know that makes the biggest impact in my life. Let's address that. Let's level up there. Then from there, I started taking the gym a little bit more seriously. I started cleaning up my healthy habits. I started practicing my discipline. I hired a PT. I hired a nutrition coach. I signed up to a new gym. I changed my workout structures. See how I started elevating in one of my top core values. I'm now thriving. Next, career and financial stability. I rebranded my businesses. I rebranded my brands. I added a passion project. I started the Future You Challenge. We got 800 members in the first round. Can you see where I started to rebrand, elevate, reinvent myself within those facets? They have made the biggest impact. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. I'm growing, from a statistic point of view, but also like internally, I feel so good. So please start with this step. Look at what are my top core values and how can I elevate myself within these things, within these buckets of life. Because I'm telling you, this is not only going to improve the process, this rebrand or reinvention process, it's also going to be so much more fulfilling for you. And that come 12 months time, you have rebranded or reinvented yourself in these specific ways, in these specific concepts of life. You will be the happiest, most thriving person you know. Hand on my heart, I'm calling it now. So take that test. It takes a couple of minutes, and I will link it in the show notes, as I said. And this is going to be a really great way to almost align your actions for this rebrand, for this reinvention. Okay, so number 2, figure out your why and have a look at what your core values are and start there. Number 3, the power of self-belief and mindset. Now, this is huge, and I would argue that if you skip over this step, everything else is going to be redundant for you. This is something that I actually talk really, really heavily in the Future You Challenge about, is limiting beliefs. Now, if you would like to join us for round 2 of the Future You Challenge, the waitlist is now open. It is opening in a couple of days, like the actual challenge enrollment thing will be open in a couple of days. So please make sure you check back in. But if you would like to be contacted personally when the challenge is open for round 2, I will leave a link in the show notes. In the Future You Challenge, we talk heavily around limiting beliefs and how to completely unpack them from the ground up. But for the sake of this podcast episode, I want you to think about who is your biggest, best version. Like if you think about your rebranded, reinvented version of you, she is healthy, she is wealthy, she is successful, she is thriving. If you think about her, but deep down, you truly wholeheartedly believe that you could never obtain her, you could never achieve that level of health, wealth, success, I'm telling you now, you will never, ever get there. Now, if you're new here, and as I said earlier, we have over 150, 60 new besties on the Beck Stewart account. So it's likely you are new here. I love my tough love. I have learned some of my best lessons in life by hearing someone tell me something I didn't want to hear in a way that I was like, whoa, that was tough love. I already knew what you had to say. I already knew what you were telling me. I just need to hear it in that tone and in that way. So this is what this podcast is primarily all about, delivering you messages on how to truly step into your power, truly step into your potential in a way that isn't sugar-coated. We have enough of that outside and online. I'm here to give you the raw, real messaging in a way that is authentic to me. And a lot of the time that is tough love. So if you wholeheartedly believe that you cannot obtain that level of success, you will never, ever, ever obtain it because it's unrealistic for you. Okay, so we need to start here. This is going to be the part that you cannot override, and it's going to be uncomfortable. So in the Future You Challenge, we have an entire module about this, but for now, for the podcast's sake, I'm going to tell you, I want you to write down what your current story is about you. How do you feel about yourself? Why do you feel like you can't obtain those things? Why you feel like what's your roadblock? And why is it there? And then on another page, I want you to write down your new story, because at any given time, you're actually allowed to rewrite your narrative. If it doesn't feel good to you, you can actually rewrite that at any given time. You have that decision. You have that freedom. You have that control. So write down your new story. What is it that you are going to achieve because you have decided you can? It gets to be that simple. We're not overcomplicating things here. Write down your new story, because that is your new belief system. You are going to break down those limiting beliefs. You're going to work through those. And again, we talk about this in the Future You Challenge. But the activity for here is to write down your old story, then write down your new narrative. Because that's the new thing we're going with. That second piece of paper, that second page, that's what we're running with moving forward. Number 4, develop your vision board or your manifestation plan. So of course, it should go without saying, I want you to create a vision board that really reflects this rebrand, this reinvention of yourself. So every single element that you can visualize, pop it onto a vision board, and then consider, what is my manifestation plan? How can I start to weave visualization, weave journaling and manifesting about this new version of me into my daily routine? For myself personally, I have journaling and visualization scheduled in every single morning without fail. I do meditation most nights. I do it every single morning, but also some nights right before I go to bed. So how can you start developing a little bit of a plan where you can visualize and riff on this new version of you? It is so incredibly important that you prioritize this, because just thinking about it once and then wishing upon a star and hoping for the best is not going to be enough here. We're talking about like an entire reinvention of ourselves. So weave in some routines and some rituals that you can consistently bring this new version of you front of mind. Number 5, you need to set some realistic, actionable goals. Now, the key here, I love being Delulu. I love setting goals that seem so far out of reach just because I can. It kind of excites me, it inspires me, it motivates me. But for today's topic, we need to be a little bit more realistic, because again, we're talking about something pretty serious here. We're talking about a rebrand, a reinvention. And by setting realistic, shorter term goals and making them super actionable, we are building confidence within ourselves because they're easier to obtain, but we're also building evidence that we can work towards something. We can rebrand, we can reinvent. So, for example, if you want to become a content creator, maybe set yourself a follower goal by the end of March. Could be a couple of hundred, could be a couple of thousand, whatever it is, realistic, achievable, actionable. Maybe it's a financial goal. Maybe you are working towards wealth in 2025. Maybe your rebranded self is super financially responsible. She is all wealthy. She is great with her money. Maybe you set yourself a realistic, actionable, achievable savings goal. So think here, what are some small bite-sized goals that I can implement and set? I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly how long it's going to take. I have the figure. I have whatever it is. I have the data, whatever it is. Set them and put together a little bit of an action plan. This is going to build your self-confidence, and it's going to build your momentum and your evidence that you are working towards something and you can work towards that said rebranded version of you. Number 6, rebrand with authenticity. I don't want you to sit here and think, who do I want to be like? Okay, it's her over here. What is she doing? Let me stalk her on socials. What is she doing over here? What is she doing here? How does she dress? I'm going to do exactly what she's doing. No, we are rebranding and reinventing ourselves. We are becoming the best unique versions of ourselves authentically and organically. So think about here, what are my personal action steps to becoming this version? So for myself, really great example as well. I started doing things based on my core values that made the biggest impact for me. So my health, my career, my finances, my personal growth. As a result of catering to my own and fostering my own values, I have seen exponential growth personally, professionally since then, because I have rebranded and reinvented in a way that is authentic to me. So how is it for you? And start doing exactly that. Your external will follow. Number 7, learn, adapt, evolve. How can you learn more? How can you evolve more? Maybe it's hiring a PT like I did. Maybe it's hiring a nutrition coach like I did. Maybe it's stepping foot into a program or the Future You Challenge. Maybe it's hiring a mentor. How can you do more for yourself and learn more for yourself. Again, my example here for myself was more podcasts, more books. From there, the external followed. Maybe you just have to listen to more podcasts exactly like this one that gives you frameworks, that gives you step-by-step guidance, free value. How can you fill that beautiful, brilliant brain of yours with everything you need to go out to adapt and to then evolve? So consider here, what is it that you can invest in, whether it's time, whether it's knowledge, whether it's a program, whether it's the Future You Challenge, whatever it is. Think about it and start doing that today. There is so much free resource out there for you. You're listening or watching one of them. Okay, do more of that and make sure that everything you do learn and everything you do pick up on is then embodied and implemented. Number 8, build your supportive network. Holy moly, I talk about this probably every episode, but your environment is everything. I used to go in a really vicious cycle where I had some not so great friends that were doing not so great things, that would laugh at my goals, laugh at my visions. Then I would hang back out with the people that, and by the way, if you're not watching this on YouTube or the video format, I'm doing a bit of a circle with my finger here, where I would hang out with these not so great people. They would laugh at my goals, laugh at my vision. Then I would hang out with the people that were good for me, and I would go up to the top of the circle. I would feel fulfilled. I would feel motivated. I would feel inspired. But then I would go back around the circle again, back down to these people that weren't like that. And it was this vicious cycle where I kind of just was going round and round and round and round and round because I hadn't found my supportive environment. So guys, if you have friends that laugh at you when you share your dreams and your vision and your goals, get rid of them. If you have friends that are keeping you small, keeping you stagnant, get rid of them. Now, it's 2025 in a couple of months, okay? There is no room for people that are just not good for you. Like, life is also too short. Like, what are we doing hanging around with people that are shit for us, okay? We get rid of them. We don't turn back. I'm pretty cutthroat with my environment now. I've spoken about this before. I have an entire episode about this, and I think I'll do another one now that I'm a little bit wiser, a little bit older. But your environment is everything. Next, throughout your reinvention period, throughout this rebrand, I want you to celebrate all of your small wins. Now, as I said earlier, July was a shocking month, okay? We'll talk about it in another episode, but it was awful. However, in September and October, they were the best months of my career, of my business, and low-key of my life. So when I tell you there'll be ups and there will be downs, you must celebrate every single win, no matter how big or how small it is. And something that I love that Zach and I do really, really well is that we celebrate absolutely everything. We go out to dinner, we go out for a wine, we go out for a cocktail, we take the dogs to the beach for a picnic. We celebrate and we relish in these celebrations and these wins because they are so important. Not only are you really like hyping yourself up and, celebrating yourself, you're also celebrating evidence of what you are capable of doing and are capable of doing again and again and again. Guys, we're talking about self-confidence here. We're talking about self-trust and evidence that what you're doing is working. What you're doing is getting you somewhere. You're building momentum. This is huge. So make sure you celebrate those wins often. And last but certainly not least, lock in your focus. Hold your vision and please trust the process. By the way, that quote is like pretty much my new life motto. Lock in your focus, hold the vision, trust the process. If you can do those 3 things, you'll be fine. And it is so much easier said than done. But as I said, there will be ups, there will be downs. You just must trust that the work you are putting in, the aligned action you're showing up in, day out, is working in your favor. There is momentum building, even if it doesn't feel like it. Again, as I said, July was the worst month ever. And only now in November am I seeing results, proper results, financial results, statistic results, mental results, physical results, okay? It takes time. It is really hard work. And if it was easy, absolutely everyone would be constantly reinventing, constantly rebranding, constantly leveling up. And we know that that's not the case for some people. You're not one of those people. You're here to level up. You're here to elevate. So please lock in that focus. You must lock it in regularly. Hold the vision. Revisit your vision board, revisit your why, revisit your manifestation plan. Do it all the time. Do it often. and then trust the process. Be patient. I promise you everything's working out for you. As long as you have faith that it is and you're putting in that work, there is simply no way you can fail. That is my 10-step framework to completely reinventing yourself from the ground up. I hope you enjoyed our first episode back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And if you're watching, thank you for watching. I am so excited for this brand new season. I feel like myself, the podcast, the brands, we've only just started. I'm so excited. I would love your feedback on today's episode. If you're watching on YouTube, I would love your feedback also. All the links to pretty much everything we've spoken about today will be in the show notes below. I cannot wait to see you again next week. As always, thank you so much. I love you so much. I'll see you in our next episode.